to love others. In the passage from Kings this morning, as people keep reminding Elisha that Elijah is about to leave him, another way to translate "be silent" is hush. He just keeps saying to these people, yes, I know he's about to leave. No, you just hush. Because he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to acknowledge what's about to happen in his life. A mentor is going to not be with him in the way that he has been. Something is going to change. And if things don't change, we die. If things don't change, we cease to be. As the people of God, we continue to grow because we change. Already in my brief time as your bishop, I've met with churches, sometimes from small churches, that say, we love the size we are and we just want to keep being who we are now. And I've learned that that's the case. We still have to be people who grow. Because if we don't change, we will die. I'm grateful for Good Shepherd in the ways in which you all continue to be who you are, and you continue to keep your doors open, even in this time of COVID. You continue to welcome new people into this community, even as we maybe think of ourselves as being hunkered down and not moving, not changing. We are changing. So Elijah and Elisha experience a change, a loss. But in that loss, Elisha is gifted with a double spirit, the double sense of the gifts that was given to him through God and through the mentoring of Elijah. Elisha will carry that with him. So often when you and I are in ministry, we follow people who've come before us. Our job is not to replace them. Our job is simply to add to the work they have done. When Paul talks about the gospel being veiled, so often in our life, you and I will walk through life with gifts, with grace, with mercy, with joy, but we do so in ordinary time. Thomas Merton, a mentor of mine, talked about being in downtown Louisville and seeing people shining like the sun. So in an ordinary moment, he could see something that was transformed and transfigured. However, if we walked around all the time in Kroger, shining like the sun, we would blind each other and never get out of the store. So it's why so often, even in our transformed state, we are ordinary people, made of dust and ash and earth and soil. And yet we do find those moments. We find those moments on the day when our Master is leaving us. We find those moments when the veiled gospel breaks into our heart. We find those moments when Jesus, who has come to us as a man of sorrows, also shines like light and mercy and joy and glory forever, to remind us that as we move towards Ash Wednesday, as we move towards Lent, the Jesus that we encounter in Ash Wednesday and Lent is so often that earthly Jesus, that Jesus who was tempted, that Jesus who wandered in the wilderness, that Jesus who wandered in the desert to pray, to be reminded of who he is in the very life of God. That Jesus that we encounter so often in Lent through our own bodies and being in right relationship with our bodies, and to think about practices that often take place in our bodies. It's in these bodies that God continues to transform us. And at some point, these bodies, which will return to the dust and to ash, will also return fully to God, transformed and transfigured as the people of light and grace and mercy and joy. At some point, as this year continues to unfold, I think we will find moments again that might feel normal, that might feel even more hopeful, that we might be able to gather in more ways safely. It might feel like we have endured and passed through something, but know that as the people of God, we are always passing through things. We are always passing through life together each day, knowing that this morning someone is being born into this world, even as someone is also moving on to glory, transformed and transfigured, ordinary, extraordinary people. In this season of COVID, Susan and I have started watching a show called The Midwife, and I have lost count of how many babies I have seen born over the last several months. But the thing that is said over and over again in this series about Poplar, about the East End of London, and the care of midwives and the care of nurses, is that life, which is so ordinary, is also sacred and divine. And the things, the gestures we do to give care to others which might seem simple, which might seem humane and obvious, are also signs of grace and mercy, sacred acts that we do for each other because of the love of God, because of the grace of God. You and I are about to go through an Ash Wednesday and a Lent that we hope will lead to a lengthy and deep Easter and resurrection season for the church, for our country, for the world. So we go as people who will need to find times for silence, be prepared for the transformation, and know that when we see Jesus transfigured, there are no words that can adequately capture that. We are called to listen to the transformed one, to listen to the transfigured one, to listen to God, the Spirit of God inside of us, calling us to the next thing. Amen.